and that also was fun. So, I enjoyed it. It's a little wet, it's a little sticky, but and it doesn't smell that good. But it gives you a chance to practice different personalities. So, I'm down with it. If you got another role for me to play with, wearing another person's face, I'm all for it.
That was probably the greatest response you could give.
That was great. I was winging it.
Yes. Yep.
How long are you guys in makeup typically?
Bob?
I had a mask, okay,
Okay.
and they did a little makeup on me, and that was it, and then the suit and the flippin' cowboy boots for 4 months and everything. But behind the mask, you don't know who's behind the mask. So now you're interpreting what they want through body, and it was a lot of fun. That was the hardest job I ever did in my life. I've been in business for 30 years, and that was absolutely the most horrendous job that I ever did. The conditions were crazy. Mentally, Toby Hooper drove everybody crazy, but again, it was a lot of fun. And it's an iconic character, and I love that.
Bob, how did you get the role for Leatherface?
Now, this to be perfectly clear, I'm not an actor. I don't pretend to be an actor, never was an actor. I can't stand, because I can't act. I don't even pretend to. I'm a stunt man. And I went as a stunt double for Bill Johnson. And when we got to Texas, we started off, we did the bridge scene first, and had to do that twice because they didn't like it. Then we got into the other scenes, and I did one. I jumped out of a cavern and scared Caroline Williams. All right, and that was it for me. I thought. I walked away, and 5 minutes later they called me back in. They said, "Well, and these are all close-ups," and they said, "Well, Bill can't lift the chainsaw." So it went from there.
He wasn't allowed to, right? He literally could lift it.
So I went in and did that, and then all these other circumstances where I had to do everything else, and that's where we got into me trying to act, and to respond to people like Bill, who I'm mesmerized by him because he's in this character that's crazy. And it was fascinating to me, so I'm standing there just looking at him, and they would yell at me, cut, and let's do it again, because Bob's not doing anything. So it was very, very hard to do that, absolutely.
But Bob did a great job. I remember a couple of times where I was off camera and Bob was in the smokehouse,
Yeah.
where Bob discovers Caroline, and they have their interaction, their romantic moments, and then Bob ends up putting LG's face, there you go again, on Caroline, and securing it with a cowboy hat, and then he starts spinning her around, some kind of weird dance step, and then the music, the soundtrack is like a calliope, so it's kind of a weird waltz or whatever it is. Anyway, I remember I was standing off the set, and I was looking through a crack in the door into the smoke room, watching that scene just obliquely, that's a nice word, whatever that means. But anyway, I wasn't involved, I was just observing. And it was fucking scary. It was like weird. It was weird, scary, cool. I mean, I liked it, but you did a great job.
It was, all they
You
told
can
me,
dance, buddy.
they told me to do something, and I had no idea what to do. I was Chainsaw Love, that was real good. What do you want me to do? What do you mean, what do you want? I said, I don't understand what you want. Well, pretend like you're, what you're doing. I go, okay, I got you. But, that was just like, again, and the scaffolding was Toby Hooper screaming at the top of his lungs, and so it was not a panic mode, but it was, okay, we got through it. A lot of fun. I mean, it was absolutely fun. And it's an iconic character, because there's not too many guys can say they were Leatherface. So I love that part of it.
How was it working with Dennis Hopper?
I didn't really work with him that much. I mean, what would usually happen is Dennis, we all stayed in the same hotel, which was the Brook Hollow Motor Inn in Austin, Texas. So it was a motor inn, not a hotel. And I remember, I would be like headed out, then Dennis Hopper would be coming into the breakfast nook in his pajamas, you know, and I'd be already, you know, they'd be dragging me back to the set. The Screen Actors Guild, the Actors Union, has this rule that you have to have 12 hours. It's called a turnaround between the time you end one day and start the next. And if you don't abide by that, the production doesn't, then they have to pay you know, the actor a full day's pay. But they were paying me so little. They were paying me like minimum wage. So they didn't mind doing that. So I was getting a maybe, you know, 4 to 6 hour turnaround. So they'd dump me at home and I'd crash and then, you know, and then I'd have to go back and they'd drive me off to the makeup department. Unlike Bob, I had the Chop Top makeup was about 3.5 hours on, and then it was an hour and a half off at the end of every day. So my 8-hour day was already, 5 hours was already gone just in the makeup chair. And then usually to location, it was maybe an hour each way. So that added another 2 hours. So basically, by the time I even started the day, I was already in overtime. That was my saving grace. I ended up making a bunch of dough. And in fact, I became kind of like a little outlaw on the set because I found out, see, this is like my first experience, and I found out about this thing called meal penalties. And meal penalties, basically, part of the Screen Actors Guild is you have to have a sit-down, hour-long meal every 6 hours. And so I would calculate just when that 6-hour time limit was up, and then I'd leave my trailer and I would hide under the trailer. And they would come looking for me, and then I would, you know, I would elude them. And then I would show up like about an hour later and I'd say, hey man, you know, is it lunch yet? They go, oh, we're looking all over for you. And I said, oh, it's right there. And lying, of course. And then they'd have to mark down that, you know, they had to pay me another $50 or something for meal penalties. So I ended up, you know, making a bunch of dough on Chainsaw 2.
I'm gonna just chime in on this because this was so good. I was under an acting contract, and then I was doubling myself, so I had a stunt contract. So we were working 2 contracts against meal penalties, drive to, overtime, golden time, turnaround, whatever time you want.
Yep.
And there was 1 week, 6 days, and I made a total, I believe it was like $27,000.
That was back in the 80s when it meant something.
You know, I mean, and they passed the check around showing everybody how much it was. And I get on the phone, I said, my wife, I go, you know, I go, you're not gonna believe this check, I'm gonna send it to you. I go, please don't spend it all in one place. So that, and we're making money today. I make money off of Chainsaw right now. You know, the residuals have been going on forever and a day. It's not very much anymore, but it's still making money. But that was just an outrageous, and they were really good about it. They made sure that, you know, we got paid and it was all calculated. Plus, for myself, if you did a stunt, you calculated the overtime against that too. So it was just a lot of money.
Rolling in dough.
Absolutely.
Now, were you guys fans of the original? Both of you? Were you guys both fans of the original?
I thought that was probably one of the greatest movies I ever saw. I didn't know anything about it until I got this job for part 2. And so I thought, well, maybe I better go look at it and see what it's all about. And I go, oh my God, you know, and that's an icon movie right there. Absolutely. You know, Gunnar Hansen did just an absolutely fabulous job on that movie. The girls, you know, and they're talking about, they had horror stories about that movie, you know, and they didn't make any money off of that.
Yeah.
And that was real, that's a sad part.
Yeah, for me, I saw it saw it in Boston back in '76, I think. And it was on the tail end of the double bill with Enter the Dragon. And I had never seen a Bruce Lee movie, and it was a Sunday afternoon. It was in a part of Boston called the Combat Zone. Maybe some of you guys know what that means. But it's kind of like the Times Square, seedy, you know, part of Boston back then. And so I went to this theater and I watched the Bruce Lee movie. I'd never seen that. Everybody's yelling at the screen, "Kick his ass, Bruce!" You know, and it's like, you know, we're having yuck fest there. And then Chainsaw, the original Chainsaw started to play. And of course, the opening shot is like this kind of a slow strobe of a rotted corpse, and Toby Hooper's amazing, weird, kind of tortured violin note of like, and then there's this like, and this flash of this ugly, corpse. And it was all, and it was so funny because really from the get-go, it just took that wind out of the room. I mean, everybody was, all that, go get him, Bruce. All of a sudden it was like, what the fuck? And it never really let up. I mean, I love horror movies and always have, and there's always like some like escape moment in a horror movie, most horror movies, where you go, oh, okay, there's a boom shadow, that's a zipper, that's stupid. I mean, there's always something where you can kind of pull back. And I just, for me, I just never found that with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was relentless, it just sucked me in, it held me, it scared the crap out of me. And it really scared the crap out of me because I'm from Illinois, so I'm, rural Midwest America, and I'd always really thought of it as somehow noble, like, buying your, night crawlers from the old, bait shop and getting a corn dog, the local, like grocery store or something. But then all of a sudden, like, after seeing like the Sawyer family and the little garage with like, what's in those sausages, kind of doubt got into my head, and the whole thing just became, rural America became not just noble and friendly, but frightening. It was like, oh my God. So it ended up really taking me on about almost a 10-year trip to try to overcome my fear of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And what happened was, my first plan was to keep seeing it a bunch of times until it became, kind of so familiar that it wasn't going to be scary. And yet, all that ended up doing was just make it worse. So I saw it about 5 or 6 times. And back then, there really weren't even any, VHS tapes, so you really had to go to the theater and track it down. And so I did. I was working on a ranch one summer, like, 84 maybe. I was in Wyoming, and I was working next to a crazy kid who drank a lot of Mellow Yellow and ate a bunch of Frosted Flakes and candy bars.